Hello again. Our very first story for the afternoon. Some members of the New Patriotic Party have expressed disagreement to the decision by the National Executive Committee not to allow male contenders to challenge 16 female sitting MPs. At the party's headquarters in Accra, the group called on the executive members to reverse their decision.
Disgruntled members of the NPP besieged the party's headquarters Wednesday to protest against the decision to encourage male parliamentary candidates not to contest 16 sitting female members of parliament. The National Executive Committee of the NPP, in a meeting on March 23, decided that sitting female MPs should not be contested by males. The decision by the National Executive Committee has attracted protest from members of the Anyaswotom constituency. The protest was led by the constituency chairman, Mohammed Bashiru.
We want a free, fair, transparent and credible contest. If men are prevented from contesting women, what's going to happen is that some of them will be aggrieved and they may go as independent candidates. When it happens that way, voter apathy is very likely to set in.
For the Defense of Equal Citizenship, CODEC has called on the New Patriotic Party to either withdraw what it terms as obnoxious and divisive directive it recently introduced or face a series of demonstrations from them. CODEC says it is particularly concerned about clauses in the guidelines which bar men from contesting female MPs, as well as those that restricts contests for parliamentary seats in a number of coastal constituencies to indigenous Gans. CODEC, however, considers the new directive that gives only Ga indigents an opportunity to contest in the coastal constituency as a further drawback on the gains we have made as a nation after 58 years of independence. According to CODEC, the good people of the Gan, quotes, the good people of the Gan state have always demonstrated that they prefer voting on the basis of one's key competencies and skills to voting on the basis of ethnic or tribal affiliations. The group has further resolved to lead a sustained and determined campaign to bring an end to what it terms as discriminatory and divisive strategy in our body politic. In the studio we have Eduji Tamako, and he is a convener for CODEC. Good afternoon. You term this as obnoxious and divisive. Those are very strong words. How is that obnoxious and divisive? They're trying to help.
Thank you very much. Let me use this opportunity quickly to say good afternoon to your viewers. We have come to this conclusion that the directive or the roadmap by the NPP is obnoxious and divisive. Because
how is that obnoxious?
Yes, I'll demonstrate that quickly. If you look closely at Article 17.2 of the 1992 Constitution, it bars any form of discrimination on the basis of gender, on the basis of ethnicity, the region one is coming from. Now, if you have a political party formed according to the laws of this republic, engaged in an act which flies in the face of this clear constitutional provision, one comes to only one conclusion, that is to say that such thing is not only unconstitutional, it is not only divisive, but equally obnoxious. We are saying it's obnoxious because, if you recall, February 1951, Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah was imprisoned by the people of Ghana, voted for him as the parliamentary candidate for Asiedu Keteke, now called Ododio. Now, if after over 60 years we are having to say that go and reserve a place just for an indigent, and remember that Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah actually beat a Ghana indigent in the person of Obeche Bilamte, one of the big six. So the Ghana people have demonstrated from old that if you give somebody the opportunity on the basis of the person's competence, what he can do, they'll prefer that than naked endorsement of an indigent. Yeah.
Well, but what if, I mean, this is another side of it. What if all those who would contest, they are guns, 1, 2, they have competence? Isn't that helping, saying that we are also represented, no matter how minute it is, we're represented. So the people in the community will feel a part of the governance process.
What you should also know is that for democracy, what is important is giving people the choice. Now, it is not open to any group of persons to say, we fix this person to you. Let it be an open contest, as the 1992 Constitution envisaged.
No, I get that point.
Yes.
My point is, how about having representatives who are all guns, but being...
What is important is that it's a choice process. Let that outcome be one coming from a choice. People doing that voluntarily. That at the end of the day, we may have all guns putting themselves out. It's better than to say it is only a gun. Now the danger with that is that, for instance, the person is a Dagomba. He's born here in Accra. He's lived, born and bred here in Accra. Then you have a gun, born and bred in, say, Asawase in Kumasi. Now you are saying that that person born and bred in Kumasi, a gun, should have better chance of being elected than somebody born and bred in, said Odododio, who is from a different region. That is dangerous. It's a drawback.
All right. On the issue of having female MPs, I spoke to Ursula yesterday, and she says not only her, but women are in the minority. They are marginalized. That's why there are certain incentives, there are certain programs that are done to encourage women participating. Now, if NPP takes a step, she said we should applaud them for being bold. How do you then stand in the way of women's progress?
Thank you. It's not that we are standing in the way of women progress. If you look at the Constitution, I think that in the superior wisdom of the framers of the 1992 Constitution, they knew that there was always the possibility of discriminating on the basis of gender. But what is instructive is that before Ursula became the parliamentary candidate of the NPP,
but it's not her. We're not.
No. I'm even just using that.
Okay.
That assuming we had to take the case of Ursula for the purpose of this analysis.
Absolutely.
Remember that Ursula was able to beat a male contender to become the parliamentary candidate of the NPP. What has changed?
She says she's the exception to the rule.
No, Natoshi in Tema equally beat a male contender to become. And the evidence, the available evidence, is that women have demonstrated over and over again that they have what it takes to beat male contenders.
All right. We have less than 20% women representation in Parliament. And one of the reasons is that when a woman says, I'm going to do politics, there's a lot of things that is thrown at her. You are a prostitute, you probably slept with everybody. The attacks, the insult is what discourages. It will take someone as bold as Ursula, Natoshi you mentioned, Shirley Ayoko and the likes, Achua Safu. It will take just a few of them. Those are exceptions to the rule. So if they're trying to help, to encourage those who are a bit conservative to come forward, shouldn't we applaud that?
Is there anything better than a woman fighting on her own strength, breaking that barrier to become what she is? Is there any other option to that? Can you tell me? No, there can never be any agreeable option to that. Affirmative action on the basis of what? I am saying that the women that we have today, I'm a lawyer. By the time we were called to the bar, a lot of the women actually took the prize. They didn't do that because somebody had to give them affirmative action. In any case, they are going to represent all of us. So the people who put themselves out to represent all of us must demonstrate what it takes to represent all of us. I am not sure that Yasantua in the old had to tell the men in Ejiso that give me a certain preference to stand up and fight for you. No. And most of these women who put themselves up for political party, they want to do that on the basis of their key competencies and skills. The danger is you reserve this place for the women. What happens after they have won their party primaries? They are now going to face a larger constituency. Are they also going to be allowed to go because they are female? No.
But at least you would have given them the,
and you know what? The people who put out this argument, they are a two-phase. You win your party primaries, and then you go to a second stage. That is the national election. Why is it that
how would you want women to be represented in Parliament? I mean, not just giving them the soft spot to stand on. Right. We'll talk to the communications director of the NPP. Nana Komia is on the phone line. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Hello.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, madam.
Thank you very much for joining us. I'm sure you, I don't know if you've been listening to the discussion, but CODEC is describing the decision to allow female MPs to stand without any contention from male MPs as obnoxious and divisive. Your reaction to that first?
Well, thank you, madam. You know, affirmative action is basically a national policy. But all of us, I mean, you are a woman, so I assume that I don't need to convince you about the desirability of affirmative action. That's what the party tried to do. You look at our women's representation in politics, it's very abysmal. If you take Parliament, for example, out of the 275 members of Parliament, women are just about 30. 16 for NPP, and I think 14 for NDC. Out of 275. Meanwhile, women are supposed to be at least 51% of the Ghana's population. So all of us are looking for ways to advance the cause of women, particularly in political representation. That is the basis for the NPP's decision. Of course, subsequent to the decision, we've had many petitions from bona fide party people. As a listening party, we'll look at those petitions. If there's any merit in reconsidering it, why not? It shouldn't be a problem. Okay. But the underlying factor is that it is a push to advance the cause of women. And it's not just women. Young people, youth, they also get a rebate of 50% on filing fees. The disabled also get a rebate of 50%. So there's an affirmative action for women, for the youth, and for disabled people. But like I said, if there are genuine difficulties being expressed by party members, like any responsible institution, they will be looked at.
Right. I mentioned the case of Ursula, and she says she's the exception to the rule. But there are some women who also feel genuinely that you're doing them a favor, but they want to fight. How about that? How about give them... And isn't there any other way, apart from saying certain MPs, why don't we have, let's say, why didn't your party perhaps look at other constituencies and say this constituency should be contested by women instead of saying incumbent MPs? Why?
Well, what you have in your hand is 16 MPs, isn't it? That is what you have in your hand.
Sure.
So you want to advance the cause of women. You want to make sure that at least you preserve those 16 that you have in your hand. Like they say, a bird in hand is worth two in the bush. So hold on to the 16 and do other measures. Like I said, there's a rebate of 50% for every woman who wants to contest in any of the 275 constituencies across the country. That's also another affirmative action in favor of women. So the starting point is the protecting those 16 seats. But if there have been any disagreement, it will be looked at. There shouldn't be a problem.
All right. The other issue has to do with the coastal areas where girls are supposed to contest. They think it's divisive, and you're rather encouraging tribalism instead of allowing people to choose their own people.
What about the rights of indigenous people to political representation? All of us, madam, would agree that because Accra is the capital city of Ghana, the indigenous people of Accra, the Gans, they come under pressures that no other people in this country come under. Merely because their territory is also the capital city. So their culture, their tradition, their norms, their language, all come under pressure. Today, if you look at the population of Accra, you will find out that Gans form less than 1/6. So if there's any effort to ensure that the Gans are not too marginalized, I think that it should be applauded. In fact, the whole nation should be engaged in efforts and policies to ensure that the Ga people are not unduly marginalized simply because their territory is also the capital city. Right. So what we have done is to ensure that some constituencies, which also have a certain, many of them have stools, that we make a deliberate effort to reserve them for Ga people. Some of the other constituencies in Accra, which are not, let me call them non-traditional Ga settlements, you may leave them open for everybody to compete. But the constituencies which are traditional Ga settlements, like La, like Peshi, like Nungwa, like Osu, like Ododo-Dio, and so on, you want to make an effort to preserve them. I think that effort should be applauded.
Right, and I have a guest in the studio, and he brought up this analogy that you're saying then that if you have a Ga who lived in Kumasi, let's say, all his life, he has much more rights than someone, let's say, an Ashanti who grew up in Ga and is known by the people and is a potential MP.
I think the better way to look at it is the principle. Do we see the need that Ga people under pressures that maybe Achin people don't come under, maybe other people don't come under? Do we accept that? If we don't accept that, then maybe we can look at it differently. But if we accept that Ga people, simply because their territory is also the capital territory, and there's been so much migration, and they have now formed a tiny minority in their own land, that we should make a special effort to them. I think that is a good principle. Right. I don't think Ashantis feel the same pressure. I don't think Fantis feel the same pressure. I don't think they have so many migration that they are becoming a minority. I don't think they do.
So have the MPP received any pressure from Gans?
Sorry?
Had you received any?
Every time we meet them, they express this concern that we should make a special effort for them. All the time. They
okay.
And I'm sure they make it to all the parties.
All right.
We are trying to respond.
Okay, thank you very much, Nana Akumia there, and he's saying, well, there was pressure, and that those in Ashanti are not receiving the same pressure. The Fantis aren't putting any pressure, but the Gans are putting pressure. You heard them. It's actually because it's informed by pressure from the local people. The indigenous want to be represented, that's why the MPP did that.
That is even more dangerous, because tomorrow, the danger with this is tomorrow, Dagombas and Tamale will start. Give us only Dagomba. Tomorrow, another area. That's the danger. And let me even
but there was a caveat.
No, let me even expose the fallacy in the initial argument. Look, if the MPP is desirous of giving women representation in parliament, they have 47 seats in Ashanti region. These are safe seats from 1992 to date. They have won those seats. Why not just say female, just be on these 47? No contest, because look, what is clear is that from 92 to date, they have won those seats. So just put a female there and she will win and come to parliament. Why? So that is the fallacy, one, in his assertion. On the issue of the tribe, is even dangerous. If the basis of this policy is pressure, because then you are encouraging other ethnic and tribal groups to begin to put pressure on political parties, and that's very dangerous.
But then he wasn't it wasn't a straitjacket. So he mentioned there was a caveat there. He said that if pressure is too much, they may reconsider. Because
no, that is why I'm saying that we should not even toe that line. It's dangerous for what we have done for ourselves as a state. People should be assessed on the basis of their key competencies. All right,
thank you very much. Ejiji Tamaklo is the convener for the Coalition for the Defense of Equal Citizenship, CODEC. We'll be talking a lot more about this. I want you to send us your thoughts. What do you make of NPP saying that, listen, there are certain seats that are traditional, we want Gans to be represented, and then female MPs, they must not be no one should contest them, especially if you're a male. What do you think about them? Go to our pages, News on TV3, at News on TV3. I'll be thrilled to read thoughts from you out there.